Welcome to English 9, judging the relevance and worth of ideas, soundness of author's reasoning, and effectiveness of the presentation. Part 1, Quarter 4, Week 1. I am Mr. Nelpon Sambalad and I'm your teacher for this course. For this week's most essential learning competency, we have judge the relevance and worth of ideas, soundness of author's reasoning, and the effectiveness of the presentation. For the enabling competency, judge the relevance of the truthfulness of the ideas listened to. So looking at the image, you have there a man who seemed to be processing the idea that he read, listened, or viewed. And in the second image, you have there already the enlightenment of the man regarding the idea that he read, listened to, or viewed. And in the third image, as if the man was able to provide or is now providing a reflection, or maybe he's making an action about the idea that he read, listened to, or watched. So, how is the image related to our most essential learning competency regarding the judge the relevance and worth of ideas, soundness of authors, reasoning, and the effectiveness of the presentation? So, the first thing there, dealing with the first image, you have there the man judging the worth of ideas and the soundness of the author's reasoning. So that's the first thing to do. Nah, that's why the man is really what activating his critical thinking for him to be able to judge the so-called relevance and worth of ideas and soundness of the author's reasoning. And of course, now the effectiveness of the presentation will be seen, will be felt at the latter image wherein you have the man being moved by the ideas or soundness of the author's reasoning, or by the presentation made by the author dealing with the ideas he's presenting or he presented in his text. That's why you have there the man who seemed to be moved by it and by now making an action regarding the ideas that he listened to. Okay, so for the enabling competency, actually we tackled it already in the last sessions. The judge the relevance of the truthfulness of the ideas listened to. But as I prepared the slides for this presentation, there is a different way of finding out or judging the relevance of the truthfulness of the ideas listened to. So that's the one we are going to study for this week's session. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. In this time of pandemic at the digital age, online media play a crucial role as we obtain much of the information we need through many platforms available such as YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Each provides rapid dissemination of information, which also allows us to access news to keep us updated. But we have to remember that not everything we see or hear in social media is true. Therefore, we should learn how to assess and filter data before we react or believe in a certain issue. So just like what we studied in the previous lectures, it is being said that we are bombarded of so many information nowadays because of the different social media applications that we have in our gadgets, that daily we are exposed to many information, facts, or statements. And of course, the challenge is to figure out how truthful those information are. So this time, what we are going to study is on how we will assess and filter the data before we react or believe in it. Okay, so just like the image that we have there, you have there the man standing in front of his gadgets, standing in front of the information that the gadget is providing him. So why did I choose that image? Because it's a good reminder for all of us that we should always be ahead of this information, in the sense that we will be using this information and we are not going to be used by this information. So how will it happen? As we are able to assess and filter the data or the information that we are dealing with. that we will be using them and we will not be allowing ourselves to be used, not to be used by this information. Okay? So the point there is we should know if the information is really truthful or not, or is the information really relevant or not. Okay? Is there relevance and truthfulness in the information? So as we are able to assess them, of course, we will be always what ahead of this information that are bombarded to us via social media platforms. Okay, so let's continue. Let us have this activity. Read the comic strip below. Have you read a Facebook post circulating online since April 2? It was confirmed that the COVID UK variant has already reached our neighboring town, Lukban, Quezon. According to my friend who resides in the said town, the alleged person who tested positive is a medical professional who attended to a deceased patient. I am worried about my relatives who live there. I hope they are fine. That's according to Clara. Let's have the statement of Mario. I think you are worrying for nothing because earlier today, April 4, 2021, I have read some news from Inquirer.net published by news correspondent Del Pinti Malyari Jr. Based on the article, the Municipal Health Office of Lukban had clarified the said issue. According to them, the mayor only wanted to quote one of the medical professionals who attended to the deceased patient that there is a big possibility that it was caused by a UK variant, but there is no confirmatory test performed yet. They have also added that they are already trying to process a genome sequencing of a direct contact of the late patient and the local chief executive only wanted the residents to be vigilant and safe. So let's process the said comic strip as we answer the guide questions. Let's have these guide questions. Process questions. Imagine you overheard a conversation between the two characters in the above comic strip. Number one, which statements are more convincing, Clara's or Mario's? The answer for number one is Mario. Number two, what are the things you considered in making your choice? So I chose Mario because you have there the mentioning of date, the mentioning of the website where he read the information, and there's even the source of information mentioning the name of the reporter. Also, you have there the clarification of the issue coming from the health medical personnel, or even what clarifying the statement of the chief executive of the said town. Number three, what do you think is the impact of unconfirmed information spreading online? Of course, the impact of unconfirmed information spreading online first would be the misconception or the misleading of people because they will be fed by wrong information. But another impact of unconfirmed information is the creation of fear in the minds and hearts of people. That's why it's not always good to spread, it's not good to spread unconfirmed information via online. Okay? Number four, what do you suggest to readers or listeners? Of course, you there, grade 9 students, for you to for you to help clarifying issues that are unconfirmed, then of course I suggest that you'll be activating your knowledge about judging the relevance and truthfulness of information listened to or information viewed from a material. Also, you try to judge the validity of evidences that are in the material listened to. Okay? So, I suggest that you always assess and filter the information that you are listening to or viewing. Okay? So, that would be for number four. So, done with the guide questions. The image is asking us, what is truth. So, as we try to gather information from various sources or platforms to keep us updated, our capability to judge the truthfulness and relevance of ideas is imperative. We must remember that before we believe the articles or materials we have obtained, we should check first if it's factual or misleading. Thus, we must know the different tips on how to distinguish factual or truthful information from a faulty one. So anyway, we already studied the types of claims, the faulty logic, the unsupported facts, and the emotional appeal. So you know very well that as you deal with this type of claims, that they are not what? They are not presenting truthful information. They are not presenting factual information. That they are trying to convince you on believing on them. That's what we studied under judging the validity of evidence lesson 2. So what is being said here that it is always imperative that we try our very best to judge the truthfulness and relevance of ideas that we are viewing or that we are listening to or what we listened or viewed. So it's imperative that we know what is the meaning of the word truth. So accordingly, truth is something that has been proven by facts or sincerity. So that's the first thing that you must have in mind whenever you try to figure out if the information is truthful. No? You check whether if it is something that has been proven by facts or sincerity. And of course, you try to activate your knowledge of the word relevance. So relevance is how appropriate something is to what is being said at a given time. Is the information being fed to you still relevant? Because if it's no longer relevant, then it will no longer be factual. Okay? So it will no longer be factual because it's no longer up to date. Okay? It's the same with what? Hearing about the total number of deaths of COVID-19 in the Philippines coming from a newspaper that is dated a month ago. So that's no longer factual because we have the recent record of number of deaths. So you check for the relevance and you look for the truth in the statement for you to always figure out the truthfulness of the information in a statement that is being presented to you. Okay, so let's proceed. Let's now have the tips on how to spot factual or truthful information. So we should be looking for fact. So number one, consider the source. Investigate the site you are viewing or reading. So just like what we studied under judging the validity of evidence from materials that you listen to, it's very important to look for the source or who's the source of the information. Na, and if ever you have there the name of the source of the information, then check on the background whether the source is really an authority or if really that should be the source of the information. Okay, so that's the first thing to do. Consider the source, investigate the site you are viewing or reading. If it's a site, it's a website, as what I've told you, you check you check for the website. When was the last time the website published a post? Maybe it was 10 years ago, so it's no longer up to date. Okay? That's why it's very important to consider the source. Is it a reliable source? Okay? Number two, read beyond. Headlines can be outrageous in an effort to get clicks, so you should focus on the whole story. You have to read and look for details such as statistics, date, name, etc. So you read beyond. It's given that usually the headings are catchy so that they can grab the attention of the readers. But what is important to do is for you to read beyond, for you to figure out the truthfulness of the information that is being presented to you. Okay? So you deal with the details of the story much better if you look for evidences that will support the story as you pick out the what? The dates, the names, or statistics that are presented in the article. Okay. Number three, check the author. So do a quick search on the author to find out if they are real and credible. So that's the thing that I mentioned under consider the source. Now, so remember in the lesson dealing with judging the validity of evidence, listen to, you have there the source pertaining to the person who served as source of information. So it's possible that that's the source. But going back on number one, you have there the investigate the site. So we are pertaining to the website where the information came from. Is it an existing website? Is it a reliable website? Now going back on number three, dealing with the source pertaining to the author, now pertaining to the author of the information, then you can always do a quick search on the author to find out if they are real and credible. So you check on the credibility of the author. Na, just like what I mentioned in our discussion, if you are fond of reading broadsheets, newspapers, as you open the page in the editorial or opinion page, then you have there the columns, then they are given what? They are given it's given rather it's given that the columnists there are what the columnists there are reliable or credible because they will not have columns in opinion page or editorial page of a certain newspaper or broadsheet if they do not have the so-called credibility in them na so again checking the author, you check whether it is really the person who should be telling the information or who should be the source of information. Okay? So those are the first three tips on how to spot factual or truthful information. As we proceed on the next slide, we will be having numbers 4, 5, and 6. So we are still on tips on how to spot factual or truthful information. We are now on number 4. Verify supporting sources. Determine if the given information actually supports the story. So let's take, for example, the statement given by Mario about the article he read on April something from Inquirer.net. So it talks about the clarification of issue dealing with the possibility that the new UK variant has already entered the town of Lokban, Quezon. So as we went through reading the statement of Mario, we had the supporting sources dealing with the medical local unit team clarifying the issue, and you even have the mayor clarifying the issue. So as we read the statements associated with the mayor, the medical chief and the executive chief, they are what they are related to the story itself. So that's the thing there, okay? Verify supporting sources if they really have something to do with the story. Okay, that's why number two is what? Read beyond. Check on the details if they really support the story, the heading, or the lead paragraph if it's a news. Okay, number five, check the date. Reposting old news stories does not mean they're relevant to current events. It should be updated. So check on the date. It's the same with the example I mentioned earlier that if you will be reporting about the total number of deaths of COVID-19 in the Philippines, then you will be using a source which is a newspaper written 2 months ago, then that's no longer factual. Okay? That's why you should always check on the date of the information you are dealing with. Maybe it's no longer relevant for it is outdated. Okay? Remember, relevance has something to do with, of course, with the so-called being updated. Na it should be based on the emerging occurrence, okay, or based on what's happening. Now, how is it related on the happening? Na, so that would be the so-called relevance there. Okay, so checking the date of the information you are viewing or listening to will help you determine how truthful the information that is being presented to you. And lastly, we have check your biases. Consider if your own beliefs could affect your judgment. So as we study determining biases and from prejudice, you found out already that it's not good that you will be biased on something that you are reporting, because definitely as you become biased, you will be what? You will be trying your very best uh to you are going to try your very best to put a different shade on what you are presenting, na by what? By trying to protect someone or somebody or something. Now, because as you do so, then you are no longer truthful. Okay, that's why it's always important to check for biases, because if the author is biased, then there's the possibility that the author is not going to present what is the so-called truth in the news article or information, because the author is trying uh, to keep something. Okay, so again, those are the tips on how to spot factual or truthful information. Is to first is to consider the source. Second, read beyond. Third, check the author. Number four, verify supporting sources. Five, check the date. And number six, check your biases. So those are the tips on how to spot factual or truthful information. We are now on learning task 1. Now that you know the different tips on how to spot factual and truthful information, let us verify your answers on the first activity. Let's do the fact check by accomplishing the table below. Put a check on the corresponding box for each item if it was clearly provided by the speaker. The person who will get the most checks is therefore the one who stated truthful ideas. Okay? So for you to determine how truthful the ideas are in a text or a material that is being presented to you, you try to have this activity on checking the availability of the following this of the following criteria or of the following tips on how to spot factual and truthful information. So first we have the source. Is it Clara or Mario? Remembering the statement given by them, dealing with the source. Who's the source of Clara? You have the circulating post in the internet. While Mario, the source is the inquirer.net. So we'll be giving the check to Mario. Supporting details, the read beyond. Clara is just what? Giving her opinion about what she heard dealing with the issue. While Mario presented in his statement the clarification made of the local health office as well as the city mayor or as well as the town mayor. So again, it is Mario. Number three, the author. How about the author? Did Clara name the author of the information she got? She didn't. How about Mario? Okay, Mario is able to mention the name of the correspondent. So we'll check again the box for Mario. How about supporting sources? Did Clara present supporting sources? Again, only her opinion, only her opinions regarding the issue, only the fear that she had about the issue. While Mario, for the supporting sources, he presented there the clarification from the local medical unit, as well as the chief executive. Okay, so it's Mario again. And for the date, is it Clara or Mario? Clara also presented her date. It's April 2. It's April 2 like that. While Mario, it's the what? It's the most or updated or recent date, April 20 something. So of course, we are going to deal with the recent one. So the check is for Mario again. So meaning to say, between the statements given by Clara and Mario, the statement that is that is considered or that can be considered as truthful statement would be Mario's statement. Okay? So that's for learning task 1. Learning task 2, directions. Listen carefully to the news clip using the link below and be ready to answer the given questions. Note, if you do not have internet access at home, you may refer to the transcribed version of the news clip provided below. So if you have the strong internet connection, you may watch the given link. You may watch the news clip using the given link. But if you prefer listening to the details of the news clip, I'll be reading the transcribed version of it. Okay? So let's have the reading of the news. Bulacan, Cavite, Laguna, Rizal revert to GCQ until April 4, March 22, 2021 by CN Arcangel, CNN Philippines. The provinces of Bulacan, Rizal, Laguna, and Cavite have been placed under general community quarantine status along with Metro Manila until April 4. In line with this, the Interagency Task Force handling the government pandemic response also approved new restrictions to slow down the rise in COVID-19 cases. Under Resolution 104 approved by IATF, only essential travel into and out of Metro Manila and the four provinces are allowed. Those authorized to go out of their homes include workers in the government and private sector, health and emergency frontliners, persons traveling for medical or humanitarian reasons, persons going to the airport for overseas travel, and Filipinos returning from abroad. Mass gatherings, including large religious activities, are prohibited. Weddings, baptisms, and funeral services are allowed, but attendance is limited to 10 persons. Restaurants are limited to offering delivery and takeout services. Outdoor dining is allowed, but only at 50% capacity. The private sector is encouraged to adopt alternative work arrangements for employees and reduce their operational or on-site capacity to between 30% to 50%, just like in the government executive branch. The IATF also discourages visits from persons outside one's immediate family or household. A curfew from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. is enforced for 2 weeks. Malacanang appeals for public understanding since the restrictions will affect some people's Holy Weeks plan. The IATF considers tourism a non-essential activity. Sana po maintindihan ng lahat na this is for the common good. Alam po natin na nagplano na kayo at talagang you are looking forward to this Holy Week break, no? Pero kung papayagan po tayo ng unabated travel ngayon ay talagang mas mapapabilis ang pagkalat ng mga new variants sa iba't ibang parte po ng Pilipinas, iba't ibang parte pa ng Pilipinas. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque. Despite the restrictions, Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque clarifies there is no lockdown in Metro Manila or the four nearby provinces under GCQ. That is because most businesses and public transportation are allowed to operate. Hindi po tayo nag-i-economic lockdown dahil bukas pa rin ang mga industriya bagamat ini-encourage nga natin yung work from home kung po pwede. Konti lang yung mga establishments na ating isinara. Bukas pa rin po ang ating ekonomiya so po pwede pa rin pong magtrabaho. Local government units of the areas under GCQ are ordered to ensure compliance with health protocols as well as quarantine and isolation measures. CN Arcangel, CNN Philippines. After reading the transcribed version of the news clip, let's have the guide questions. Number one, what is the news all about? A. Economic lockdown among provinces under the general community quarantine. B. Holy Week break and essential activities allowed to be conducted during the holiday period. C. COVID-19 Interagency Task Force new approved resolution to slow down the rise in COVID-19 cases or the resolution number 104. Letter D. COVID-19 Interagency Task Force considering tourism as an essential activity in the places under general community quarantine. So what is the correct answer? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's letter A. Number 2. What is the purpose of the news clip? A. To inform. B. To entertain. C. To persuade. D. To encourage. The purpose is letter 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's letter A again. Number 3. What makes it truthful? A. It provides factual information. B. It is from a well-known news site. C. It as a convincing broadcaster. D. It presents prominent government officials. So what makes it truthful? It's letter A. It provides factual information. Number 4. Which of the following makes the news clip relevant? Is it A? It states issues that are prevalent nowadays. B. It provides information that the public needs. C. It contains pertinent answers on issues. D. All of the above. 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is letter D, all of the above. Number 5. Complete the table by supplying the necessary information occurred from the news. The source, of course, you have there CNN Philippines. The details, it's about the it's about the lockdown among provinces under the general community quarantine and what can be done in those areas. And of course, you have there the statement of Harry Roque dealing with his plead to the masses about the imposition of the GCQ. Okay? Then the author, you have the Arcangel from CNN. Then the supporting sources, we can have the IATF and of course Harry Roque. Then the date, it's what? It's March 22, 2021. So, done with the guide questions. Let's have the next slide or the next activity. Learning task 3. As a teenager, you are considered as one of the most vulnerable individuals from COVID-19. Thus, it is important to always remind yourself of the preventive measures against the virus. In this task, you will make a creative infographic out of the informative text from the World Health Organization on COVID-19 facts. What is an infographic? It is a visual representation of information or data, specifically a collection of imagery, charts, and minimal text that gives an easy to understand overview of a topic. Okay, for you to better understand what is an infographic and how to do it, let's discuss the rubric. Okay, before we discuss the rubric of the infographic that you will be making, let's have first the informative chart from World Health Organization dealing with coronavirus overview, prevention, and symptoms. So overview, coronavirus disease COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a newly discovered coronavirus. Most people infected with the COVID-19 virus will experience mild to moderate respiratory illness and recover without requiring special treatment. Older people and those with underlying medical problems like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, and cancer are more likely to develop serious illness. The COVID-19 virus spreads primarily through droplets of saliva or discharge from the nose when an infected person coughs or sneezes. So it is important that you also practice respiratory etiquette, for example, by coughing into a flexed elbow. Prevention. To prevent infection and to slow transmission of COVID-19, do the following. Wash your hands regularly with soap and water or clean them with alcohol-based hand rub. Maintain at least 1 meter distance between you and people coughing or sneezing. Avoid touching your face. Cover your mouth and nose with coffee when coughing or sneezing. Stay home if you feel unwell. Stay home if you feel unwell. Refrain from smoking and other activities that weaken the lungs. Practice physical distancing by avoiding unnecessary travel and staying away from large groups of people. Most common symptoms: fever, dry cough, tiredness. Serious symptoms: difficulty breathing or shortness of breath, chest pain or pressure, loss of speech or movement. Less common symptoms: aches and pains, conjunctivitis, sore throat, diarrhea, headache, loss of taste or smell, and a rash on skin or discoloration of fingers or toes. So again, this is the informative chart from World Health Organization that you will be using on making your infographic. Okay? So let's proceed on the rubric. Infographic rubric, the criteria. First, content. You will get 4 points, includes all the required information as outlined on the informative text in an exceptional manner. Next, design or graphics incorporates principles of design and graphic elements in an exceptional manner. Third, format, formatted in an exceptional manner to enhance maximum readability and audience understanding. Fourth, quality, quality exceeding expectations, being clear, concise, and free from grammar errors. And lastly, we have the sourcing, citation for the infographics source included. So you will get 20 points dealing with this activity, making an infographic. Okay, this is the surprise class. Since I already asked you to create infographics in the last quarter, what I would be asking you to do this time is a blog. Okay, so a blog stands for a video blog or video log and refers to a type of blog where most of all the content is in a video format. Blog posts consist of creating a video of yourself where you talk on a particular subject such as reporting or reviewing a product or an event. Okay, then we have here the rubric that you will follow as you create your vlog. Okay, content. As a teenager, you are considered as one of the most vulnerable individuals from COVID-19. Thus, it is important to always remind yourself of the preventive measures against the virus. In this task, you will make a creative vlog out of the informative text from the World Health Organization on COVID-19 facts. So see lecture video for the informative text. You just go back to that slide presenting the informative chart of World Health Organization on COVID-19 facts. Okay? So what else? I'll be looking for your blog. Completeness. Your blog follows all of the nine rules. Number one, use the rule of thirds. Two, use good lighting. Three, choose a quality background. Four, speak clearly. Five, make notes. Six, stay on topic. Seven, avoid background noises. Eight, eliminate pauses, silences, and mistakes. Nine, be excited. Next, creativity. Your blog features something to get the audience attention. Your blog is attractive to look at. Think, use good lighting, choose a quality background, and use the rule of thirds. If your blog has a creative story, humor, a good script, multiple characters, makes good use of props or visuals or other well done elements, this will help your creativity points. Blogs that do a great job of holding the audience attention will help you in this category. So see to it that you will be that creative in your blog so that I can watch it without falling asleep. Okay? So from the beginning till end. Then correctness. Because I am allowing you to express opinion in your blog will automatically be awarded the points for this category. So for the correctness, of course, you mentioned first the information coming from the informative chart of World Health Organization, but you are free to include other vital information dealing with a given topic. Okay? But they should be correct. Okay? And lastly, communication. The rules speak clearly, make notes, stay on topic, and be excited are followed very well. So if you follow the above rules, your video has a clear message delivered in a clear voice. Use good lighting and choose a quality background must also be followed very well. So if you follow the above, you are in clear surroundings. If you add a call to action at the end, this will positively enhance your project in my eyes. So I want there the so-called call to action at the end of your blog. Uh, as you do so, then as if what? It is the indication that your readers really watch it from the beginning till end, and as they follow your call of action at the end of your video, as they do so, then meaning to say you are effective, no, you have the effectiveness of presentation of yours. Okay, so I hope that your blogs will be that great. So I have this rubric to judge on the effectiveness of your presentation. So the blog, the duration or length of it, 3 to 5 minutes will do. Okay, 3 minutes will do. Then if you want to add more, just till 5 minutes. Okay, do not go beyond 5 minutes. It will be boring already. Okay, so again, since we created already infographics in the third quarter, so we'll be having making a blog as our activity for this lesson. Okay, so let's have the next slide. Okay, let's have the key learnings of yours in our discussion. So remember this. Checking the legitimacy of the information will keep us from being a victim of fake news or faulty information. While as a receiver of information, we need to sharpen our skill in judging the relevance and worth of one's ideas, since we may have to use it as basis of our personal decisions in some situations. Also, we have the points to consider in evaluating the truthfulness of information. We have there the source, author, details, supporting sources, date, and biases. Okay, so those are again the keywords that you must have, or the concept that you must have in mind dealing with our lesson for this week. Let's set the assessment part. Directions. Analyze the following situations and decide whether it can help you obtain factual information or not. Put a check if yes and a cross if no. Number one, you are reading an article about the number of new positive cases of COVID-19 in your place. Then you found out that the article is already out of date. Is it a check or a cross? The answer is a check. It's a check because you're able to what? You're able to see the date of the article that you are reading. So if you have there an indication of the date, then it will help you obtain factual information. So if it's already outdated, then you know that it's no longer factual information that you are dealing with. So, okay, so for number one, I'll go for a check. Okay, number two, Amanda saw a viral Twitter post from a known source who asserted that a medical plant is being used to cure COVID-19 patients. Is it a check or a cross? Of course, it is a cross because you have there the unknown source. Number three, a research speaker in the seminar you are attending mentioned names of credible authors while expounding his ideas. Is it a check or a cross? It's a check. You have there credible authors. Number four, your friend saw a cryptic news headline and shared it in her timeline, but it does not present any details about the whole story. Is it a check or a cross? Of course, it's a cross because remember, one of the tips is to what? Is to read beyond. And you have no details. How will you confirm the truthfulness of that headline, of that cryptic news headline? Okay? And number five, a social media influencer stressed. Filipinos have no right in the West Philippine Sea. However, he failed to cite any source to prove his claim. Is it a check or cross? It's cross. Okay? Though that person is a social media influencer, then he or she pointed that line still without a source that will not be reliable. Okay? So let's have the next slide. We are now on the reflection part. Communicate your personal assessment as indicated in the learner's assessment card. So personal assessment on learner's level of performance using the symbols below. Choose one which best describes your experience in working on each given task. Draw it in the column for level of performance LP. Be guided by the descriptions below. Star, I was able to perform the task without any difficulty. The task helped me in understanding the target content or lesson. Check. I was able to perform the task. It was quite challenging, but it still helped me in understanding the target content or lesson. Then question mark. I was not able to perform the task. It was extremely difficult. I need additional enrichment activities to be able to perform this task. Number one, learning task one. What are you going to draw? Is it a star, check, or question mark? It will be a star. Okay. For learning task two, number two, for learning task number two or learning task two, what are you going to draw? Star or check? Dealing with the news. It is what? It can be a star if you're able to master it really, if the task really help you on understanding the target content. Okay? Then Learning task number three, the infographics or blog, it can be a question mark. Okay, so I'll accept if you will be drawing a question mark for it. Okay, and for the learning task assessment LP, it will be a star. Okay, so done with the reflection. Thank you. Have a good day and God bless us all.